Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of StarCraft Inc. I'm StarcraftInc Harnum, and you're watching Funky Wise, ladies and gentlemen. A fan favorite, a troll of trolls. He is funny in the way he speaks and the way he plays StarCraft, and he is your very own SSN player. He is versus Albie, the blue Terran in the top right. And I know I said I was going to cast a bunch of user-submitted replays, but when I opened them up, they were really old and not compatible with the StarCraft 2 client that I'm using, so I was unable to open them. So only the one user-submitted replay is the one I'm going to cast. If you guys are the ones that sent me those replays and I have not cast them yet, that is why. So if you want to resend them, maybe I'll try again for sure. So resend those and. Or just send me a newer replay. So send me something that you've played more recently, because like I said, it wouldn't open the client, and that is at the fault of the age of your replay. So coming back to the game here, I'll pop. Yeah, okay, that's already open. Funky actually gets his gas before the barracks, and I had a user who really wanted, a viewer who made a request that I really take you through the builds that people use and talk about why they go the way they go, why they work, why they don't work. So first of all, let's talk about walling. Funky put it. Well, this is a funny wall. Funky didn't even finish the wall. He didn't commit. I don't know why, but so let's look at this. This is a better example. So Albie's done this standard racks in the middle, supply depot on either side, and that is the famous Terran wall. You see that all the time. Now let's talk about advantages and disadvantages. The advantages of this, obviously, is that shit can't get in unless it fights your wall. Now, everything that Terran has is ranged. So when something sits back here, it can shoot at your wall without you being able to shoot at it, because the wall is closer to him than your military units are closer to him if he's sitting on your ramp. So you can lose this ramp easily. You can lose this production as well as these two supply depots, and that is the downside to that. They're shooting at your structures instead of your units. And the upside is it's harder for your opponent to scout. However, if you put an add-on on this production facility, you will be revealing that to anything that comes up and pokes up your ramp. So keep that in mind as well. A lot of these things that I'm mentioning now are pretty obvious to most people. If you're getting any kind of tech, like late game tech, you want to get your second gas right away. Once again, that's obvious too. Another thing is try to finish your Vesphian geysers construction when you need the gas. Don't build a geyser and then not saturate it. If you're not going to saturate it right away, don't bother getting it. So, coming back to Funky here, he saturated both his gas. He got his gas before his barracks. He wanted that early gas because he's going a very gas-heavy build, and that, once again, very obvious. So he's getting his factory. He puts a tech lab on the factory. He gets a siege tank, and he starts researching his siege tech right away. Now, he doesn't have very many units, okay? In fact, he's got 2 Marines in the bunker, and he gets early siege tech. And looks like he's getting 1 more tank. Now, the idea behind this, it's very well refined, I have to say. He wanted that second siege tank to finish just in time for the starport to finish, so that he can hot swap the. Wow, he's making me look silly. He's doing this differently than he normally does. Normally, he finishes that second siege tank, and then the second it's done, he picks up his factory and swaps it with his starport so that the starport can use the tech lab on the factory, and he starts building Banshees. And then he starts a reactor on the barracks so that when that goes down, he can move the barracks and put the factory on the reactor that was on the barracks, if you follow. So then he starts producing mass Hellions. I don't know, it's really cool the way he does it. Anyway, so Funky getting this fast command center. He is going to use a supply drop. Think about a lot of people are like, that's a waste of money, because you get a lot more minerals out of a mule than you do for like what a supply depot costs, so you might as well get the mule. Here comes a Banshee for Albie. You're going to be sniping SCVs. That is a good idea, because this is he doesn't have the time to shoot down that supply depot, so he's just going to stop it from being produced, which still supply blocks Funky Wise. However, Albie, not paying attention to his supply well here, as his supply blocks himself at 43 out of 43. So Funky is going to finish that supply depot. Anyway, back to this. Time is money. So when the supply depot was dropped on this supply depot, when he did the drop down to give him extra supply, it's better than it was better for him in the moment if he was supply blocked, which don't supply block yourself and you won't run into that issue, but maybe he didn't need money. A lot of the time Funky's build leaves him with a lot of minerals and not enough gas. So if that's the case, if you're swimming in minerals, definitely spend, you know, you don't want to mine yourself out either. If you're muling, you're mining yourself out faster. So sometimes dropping on your supply depot is not a bad choice. So don't look at it as taboo. Everything is situational, right? There's no real wrongs and rights in StarCraft. There are a few. I mean, you don't want to supply block yourself. You want to saturate, unless you're doing some sort of all-in that requires you to stop at a certain count. But really, StarCraft is so open to style, and a lot of people like to find their own style. That's for sure. I don't like to play standard. I never have played standard as long as I've played StarCraft. And really none of the SSM players do. I guess it looks kind of standard from Funky right now, getting the Destiny Cloud Fist build, Funky, and you know, getting that expand up. This is one thing he does that a lot of players don't. He makes his natural a PF, and this is something you see in the lower leagues, because a lot of high-level Terrans really like to macro. They like to get that orbital command for mules. But instead he gets a planetary fortress, and this goes down to the very basics of StarCraft. It's so good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. It's a different style of play. A lot of people say this is taboo. Don't get that PF because you need economy. But Funky-wise is not short on money, not even a little bit. And as we see, due to the style of his play, a very slow start, but a very powerful late-game enterprise, he needs that early defense, and there's nothing wrong with it. And right away, preemptively getting missile turrets for detection and anti-air, because he knows the PF cannot deny air. And he's already seen Banshees from his opponent. Now his opponent is going to be pushing out with a reasonable force: Marine Marauder, Banshee Viking, and a single Hellion. Now he is impenetrable here, absolutely impenetrable. He needs to raise this wall, but siege tanks are going to shell that Hellion. It's not going to get behind the line, and the army is going to foolishly push into this, I think. No, it's going to pull back. But the enemy Terran player doesn't even want to touch this. This is a scary position right here. Now, Banshees can get up into the main, but there are Vikings here waiting for them. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Banshees are like freaking Squirtle versus Pikachu. Shit does not go down well. Now, these... I almost called those science vessels, but the Ravens almost went down to the Marines, dropping PDD to save his supply depot, but it's going to burn down. And his Vikings are going to be able to take his opponent's Vikings simply because of those PDDs. So very well played, and gets a free Banshee as well. Now he needs to watch that his Vikings don't get hit by those Marine Marauder. And Funky, this is so funny because his opponent can't touch him. Can't get close. He can't break these bunkers because of the siege tank positioning, which is so good. I mean, nothing can squeak in here without basically suiciding. And if anything gets close enough to stand on the siege tanks, the PF's going to hit it too. So now he's going to be shooting down these bunkers, and really that's not a big deal. Now the PF is engaging his opponents, and this is no longer cost effective for his opponent at all. Albie is losing more than he is dealing. Sure, he just killed a geyser and a bunker, but he lost a large portion of his army, including Banshees and Vikings, and he's not expanding. So Funky is way ahead at this point. Let's take a look at the income tab. We are seeing 38 harvesters for Funky to 31, which isn't the big lead that you'd expect. And I imagine... Oh, Albie's not even using his energy. He's producing more SCVs. He's slipping on his macro. Going back to production, we are seeing Hunter Seeker Missile. We are seeing the Corvid Reactor, which is the energy for the Ravens. We are seeing 2 more Ravens come out and 3 Marines. He doesn't... Funky never goes bio, and I love it. He never goes bio. I hate bio. Bio is stupid and too many players rely on it and they never tech switch out of it. And sure, you win a lot of games like that, but as soon as you get to the high levels, you can troll through Diamond and low Master League with Bio, but as soon as you get to the high levels, you are going to get schooled by players who know how to macro, who know how to micro, and know how to beat your brute force A attack stim. So get yourself out of Bio, because it is not how you win in the late game, in the later leagues. So Funky with this brilliant play. It's very slow but very safe, kind of a Whiterun style. Whiterun plays Protoss, but he plays the same way. He sits in his own base, he macros, he aggressively expands like this. This is a stupid ballsy expand, but Funky's gonna do it because he's Funky wise, ladies and gentlemen. And this cross map transfer, however, that is going to be seen by Albie on the watchtower. So good map control by Albie. That is probably going to be his saving grace. And Albie knows that's down there now. He's going to push on that. And he's getting another PF. Hopefully, Funky can make this happen, make this work. But it looks bad for Funky. He will have to abandon this, I think. Yeah, Funky sees this coming. He's going to try to save his SCVs, but it's not going to happen. Now, Funky is going to engage that. I don't know how good of an idea that is. And this is a pretty powerful build, mixing Aryan with your Bio. Now Funky sees what he's up against. He's not going to go up. He's not going to push it. But what he does realize is that his opponent is out of position and cannot defend his own base. Funky is going to counterattack the main of his opponent because his opponent killed a worthless natural. And this is a very smart play by Funky wise. He's going to drop a PDD to resist his opponent's Vikings, and his Vikings are going to come in here and be able to outmatch the Vikings that are opposing him. A big Bio Ball on the ground is going to be difficult for his Vikings and Ravens to deal with, but lots of auto turrets that cost nothing are going to start dealing a big blow to his opponent's base. This is so funny, ladies and gentlemen. Auto turrets are winning the game. And his opponent can't do anything about it. And if he engages it, he's losing units he spent money on to something that costs energy. And when that ends up happening, that is not a fair trade. That is not a safe trade. You don't want to be doing this, but Funky's army might get caught at a position. 2 Ravens going down. Not a good pickup for Funky. And we do see lots of Marines here. Another Raven. And a bunch of siege tanks. If his opponent tries to push him here, he will lose a lot. There's a lot of Marauders here. A medevac for healing, but Albie is severely supply blocked and is still losing part of his base, losing a lot of his production, losing a lot of supply depots. If Albie cannot win with this push, which he absolutely cannot, he's going to lose the game. This is officially GG for Albie, ladies and gentlemen. And oh, no GG from Albie. Funky wise has once again ravened his way to victory. Oh, Funky, I love you, buddy. This is StarCraft Inc. I'm SSN at Carnum, and you're my fans. At least that's what I like to pretend. See you guys next time.